You guys are really gluttons for punishment, aren't you? You're back. Well, we got a lot to talk about today, but it is Sunday. What else are you going to do with your time? Seriously, especially in this day and age. First of all, I don't get this COVID-15 thing that people talking about putting on weight during COVID. You got all day long. Nobody's doing anything. What are you doing to put on weight? Should be the time when you're out doing things, especially with the summer and the fall we've had. Come on. I've been out. I spend most of my spring, summer, and fall in the parks working out. They were empty. Like, where are you guys? What are you doing? This is the perfect opportunity, and I'm hoping that people realize that you don't need gyms. As a matter of fact, you'll get a better workout if you stay out of gyms. I have had a few questions today. One's about, what type of workouts do I do? Well, I will give you some of that information on here, but I decided that this is a community. This is not This is not a monologue. I'm not Johnny Carson. For those of you old enough to remember who he is. The reason that I think that I was successful in track and field was because I had a great team of people around me. We had a community, and I couldn't do it by myself. Anytime I tried to do it alone, I failed. So this is not about me just telling you what to do. It's like, number one, yes, the questions are good, but some interaction here, and I'll, certain people, if the questions are good, I will DM you workouts to do. But basically, especially with, I think I said, the amount of time that we have to spend indoors in Canada because of the cold, in the summer, you burn more fat. Number one, being outside, breathing in oxygen, not inside air, being outside, not in fluorescent lighting. That's terrible for you. And I have to say, it might be a little biased, but studies and statistics prove it. Sprinting is the best workout you can do. Now, not everyone can sprint. There's a way to get there safely. And people who've actually sprinted, I don't mean like running, I mean actually sprinted, know how hard it is. I've taken marathoners, some of Canada's best marathoners, who run hours a day, miles a day, and we do a few hill sprints, and they're throwing up. So sprinting is the number one thing, and everything I do around sprinting is to help me sprint better, because if I can sprint really well, I'm going to be in good shape, period. Cardiovascular wise, muscular endurance wise, body composition wise, all those things. So sprinting is the way to go, is my number one tip, other than doing your push-ups and squats, because we're going to get back to those. So where do we start today? We start with, let's go back to sleep for a sec. Two good friends of mine, both happen to be Olympic sprinters. One way back in the day, even before me, Hugh Spooner, if anybody recognizes the name, sent me a great article on sleep and the foods that affect your sleep, which is, again, super important. If you're not sleeping, like I said, you're deep in your REM sleep, getting enough of that every night, most of what you're doing in a day is for nothing. So you're not going to get much benefit out of that. So I can DM. See, I'm getting savvy at this stuff. I'm technologically incompetent, but I will DM you the link to that so you can get more information on the importance of sleep. The other one, Franz Garou, a little more frequent. She was a silver medalist in 1984 Olympics in a relay. Beautiful sprinter. And she said, we love our sleep. Franz, silver medalist. Her husband, Sean Foodie, played for Ottawa, I think. Sean used to train with me. Great hurdler in his day. And they produced offspring, Liam Foodie, who now plays for Columbus in the NHL. So if that says anything, like sleep in the family, three very successful. And their other son, sorry, the name slips my mind right now. Also a very high-ranked professional hockey player, or semi-professional hockey player. So there you have it with sleep. Talk about. I'm going to be talking a lot about the insulin index, which I mentioned yesterday, not the glycemic index. There are a lot of foods out there that are high on the glycemic index, and they don't do anything to your insulin. Insulin is the key. Insulin's high, your beneficial hormones are low, Fat is locked in. You can, and that's why when I see these people on the treadmills or doing a weight workout and they're sucking down a shake and as they're working out, most of those shakes you get in gyms are full of sugar, okay? And there's a continuum of health. Everybody is insulin resistant, okay? Not everybody, but the majority of people. If you're eating a standard North American diet, I mentioned that they did a study on 20-year-old Harvard students, and half of them were insulin resistant. Nobody knows because those effects don't manifest for years, if not decades later. Don't worry, it's going to catch up to you, and that's why most of the ailments we get in these days, the cardiovascular disease, diabetes, the cholesterol, all these things stem from insulin resistance. And the higher your processed foods and simple sugars, simple carbohydrates, the higher they are in your diet, the more resistant your cells become to absorbing those sugars in the blood, and then the more insulin you need to help force it into the blood, and it's just a vicious cycle, and it's downward from there. So all those cravings you get, explains in an article that I got from Hugh Spooner this morning, that those cravings come from insulin resistance, high insulin, and a poor diet high in simple starches and processed foods. So everything you're going to see, everything sort of ties into the other. It's like a puzzle. Once you start seeing this, the common sense in it, it's like it just makes sense. So we'll talk more about that as well. Moving on, and also when it comes to exercise, the reason you want to be doing more resistance exercise, and I don't mean you don't have to bodybuild or anything like that, because you know what I feel about bodybuilders already, but the more strength or resistance exercise you do, the larger the muscles are, and again, not massive, but the larger they are. Muscles are known as the glycogen sink. So that means the more muscle you have, the more sugar is pulled out of the blood, which is where you don't want it, into the muscle where it's stored. And then once that's full, it gets stored as fat. So if you don't have very much muscle, you don't have the capacity to store the sugars that you're eating, and it gets stored as fat. So all of these things, again, one just rolls into the other. So that's the importance of having all the little pieces of the puzzle and start putting them together. And they all cause inflammation, which again is the root cause of most diseases. I got a message the other day saying, Mark, you should be a doctor. No thanks, I'm not that stupid. Not that all doctors, like if I'm in a car accident, I want a good doctor. When doctors specialize in things, they're good. But don't put doctors on a pedestal, okay? People go to their doctors for nutritional information. They know nothing, the majority of them.